I'm standing above Lake Suchitlan, where the Limpa River widens into a mirror of both sky and history.
This river carved nations, carried legends, and witnessed empires rise and fall. Long before borders and maps, before the names Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador existed, the Limpa was a lifeline born from gods, rebellion, and sacred earth. Today, I'm following its story, from ancient myth to living memory, uncovering what the river still remembers and what we've forgotten. As always, thank you to Timeless Stories of El Salvador for the inspiration. Welcome to the gorgeous outdoor dining area at Casa 1800 Suchitoto, where the plants are thriving, the lake is showing off, and I am simply trying to live my best life. Yes, it's a hotel chain now, with locations all over the country, but this one is the original, the blueprint, the OG, the walked so others could run location. The setting is lush, leafy, and aggressively beautiful, like nature decided to host a dinner party. The lake view, unnecessarily breathtaking and deeply appreciated. The staff doesn't speak English, but the menu has pictures, which is honestly the universal language of "I'll take that." And the food and drinks, absolutely sinful.
I'm in Suchitoto, overlooking Lake Suchitlan, which was created by a dam in the Limpa River. At over 260 miles long, the Limpa winds through the heart of Central America, weaving through countries like a serpent.
This river rises in the highlands of Guatemala, brushes the borders of Honduras, and flows deep into El Salvador before meeting the vast blue of the Pacific Ocean. In some places, the Limpa serves as a natural boundary between El Salvador and Honduras. It is not only the longest river in Central America, it is also the lifeblood of the land. Nearly half of El Salvador lies within its basin, its northern valleys pulsing with hydroelectric power that lights homes and fuels cities. A river that important was bound to make it into legend.
Long before dams and borders, before even the names Honduras, Guatemala, or El Salvador were spoken, there was land and spirit.
This was a time when the earth was still young, when gods walked among trees, and when humans had not yet been created from corn, according to the sacred Popol Vuh. In this ancient time, the land was watched over by the gods, some ancient and wise, others youthful and curious. The old gods controlled the rhythms of the world, including the most precious of resources, water. They guarded it carefully, giving the young gods only small amounts, never abundance. The younger gods, parched and restless, grew suspicious.
The young gods begged the old gods for the secret, but their pleas were met with riddles and silence. Frustrated and desperate, the young gods devised a plan.
The young gods transformed themselves into animals: jaguars, serpents, birds, and insects, and followed the old gods in secret. For days they watched, until finally they saw. The old gods always returned to a single, mighty saber tree, hidden deep in the jungle. From its trunk trickled a stream of impossibly clear water, pure and cold, a sacred source. The young gods, in awe and thirst, believed this tree was the keeper of water. When the old gods left, they transformed and decided if they could fell the tree, the water would spill out freely and endlessly. No more would they thirst or beg. So they took up stone axes and obsidian blades and began to chop.
But as the sun fell, the energy of the young gods waned. The tree remained barely touched. Exhausted, they left to rest and planned to finish their work the following day.
The next morning, the young gods returned, but the Seiway stood whole, as though it had never been harmed. They struck again. They worked all day, and again the next morning, it was whole. The tree healed, or so it seemed. From afar, the old gods laughed. They celebrated each failed attempt, holding feasts beneath the stars. They believed the young ones had given up. And many of the younger gods did. They began to whisper that perhaps the Seiway was sacred, that they should respect it. Better to make do with the sips they were given than to challenge divine will.
But one young god, Tlaloc, refused to surrender. He believed the tree was no miracle. It was guarded, watched, protected.
So Tlaloc transformed once more, this time into an ocelot, a small, quick creature, and slinked into the old god's feast. In a blur of claws and fury, he struck. The old gods, unprepared and wounded, stumbled into confusion. At once, Tlaloc shed his animal form and cried out to the others, "Now, while they're all distracted!" The young gods returned to the Seiway and began to cut with furious, united strength. This time, the tree groaned. It bled. It cracked. With one final strike, it shattered.
The first water droplets fell from the sky, and Tlaloc, the rain god, would forever be associated with them.
The earth trembled beneath them. The first great earthquake was born. Water erupted from the shattered roots like a storm unbound. It carved valleys and pathways, rushing out with force enough to shape the land itself. By morning, when the tremors calmed and the water settled, the Limpa had formed. Powerful, winding, and eternal. Smaller rivers split from its flow like fingers stretching across the land. The broken shards of the Seiway tree scattered across the riverbeds, transforming into the fish and aquatic creatures that still dwell beneath the surface. And, from the chaos of those early days, the trembling earth gave rise to volcanoes, mountains, and ravines. The world had changed forever.
And so, the Limpa was born. Not just a river, but a legacy of divine rebellion, ancient secrets, and the untamed thirst for life. Eons passed. Tlaloc, once young among the pantheon, now watches the world through wise, ancient eyes. Humans walk the earth, children of corn. Mayan kingdoms stretch wide, rich with maize and stone.
Tlaloc had once loved a mortal woman. From this union came Yesun, a demigod, blessed with the strength of his divine blood and the heart of a warrior. He grew into a man of renown, a hero to his people. When he came of age, Tlaloc wished him only one thing: for Yesun to take a wife as beautiful and strong as his mother, and to father children who would carry his divine legacy forward. In a small Mayan village, nestled on the banks of the river Limpa, lived the only woman deemed worthy in all the land. Her name was Sihue, the jewel of her community. Her smile could halt a heart. Her eyes reflected stormlight and serenity, and her body was sculpted like the curves of the river itself. Every man in the village had proposed. Her father denied them all. Seiway loved her moments at the river, not just for the washing of clothes, but for the solitude. It was her only sanctuary. In that rushing water, she could drown the voices that sought to claim her. The suitors, her father, the village.
No one asked her what she wanted. No one cared that all she wished for was a life untouched by ownership, by duty, by men.
Then came the marriage proposal from Yesun. Her father beamed with pride. A god's bloodline. He only saw power and prestige. Sihue saw another cage. She did not love Yesun. She barely knew him. Still, she was married. Yesun was kind, respectful in the ways he knew. But, like the rest, he never asked her what she wanted. He gave her things, not choices. Seiway endured. Her body bore the burden of pregnancy. Morning sickness became her dawn ritual. She felt fatigue deep in her bones. Yet, everyone praised her glow while ignoring her pain. Men used the sacredness of her condition as a license to touch her, caress her belly, press their hands on her without her consent.
Then came the searing agony of labor. It was like fire, licking up her spine. The midwives crowded her. Her mother-in-law barked orders. Push. Push harder. Push again. She gave everything she had. Then came silence, followed by the baby's cry. Then, darkness.
Seiway awoke alone and in pain, the bed sticky with dried blood. No one had stayed to ask how she felt. Outside, she saw Yesun celebrating, lifting their child in the air. The village rejoiced. She dragged her broken body to the river to wash herself clean, for no one else would. She took her time walking back. When she returned, her mother-in-law greeted her with an iron voice. "You are a mother now, Sihue. You cannot run off. He is the grandson of a god and will grow faster than others. I have named him Cipitio."
Seiway stood, frozen, flooded with emotions. Until that moment, she had not known that the child was a boy. Now, he had a name she did not choose.
Cradled awkwardly in her arms, the infant was plump and flushed, his tiny limbs trembling as he wailed without pause, his cries raw and insistent, filling the air with a piercing urgency she felt powerless to soothe. She expected love to bloom instantly, but her arms felt hollow even when holding him. Yesun was gone most days, fulfilling his warrior's life. She was left with the endless cycle of feeding, cleaning, and rocking. Her mind dulled, her heart heavy with expectations unmet.
The river called to her. It whispered promises of peace. While Cipitio slept, she returned to it. She thought, she dreamt of freedom. But time and time again, she was dragged back.
Early one morning, the dawn hush still clung to the thatched huts, broken only by the faint crackle of cooling embers. Cipitio slept peacefully along with the village. Sihue did not want to wake him. He was so rarely quiet. If he began crying, the sound would ripple through the silence and rouse the entire settlement. So Seiway, alone, slipped outside with a clay jar in hand to fetch water from the river, where mist clung low over the surface and dragonflies darted in the pale light. This was her only place of peace, her only solace.
But Seiway's serenity lingered too long. When she returned home, her mother-in-law was waiting for her. Her sharp cry split the still air.
"You left him! He was eating ashes!" There was Cipitio, wearing ash like war paint, happier than she'd ever seen him. "This is not how you treat the grandson of a god," she hissed, her eyes flashing furiously. Her voice lowered, heavy with threat. "I will speak to Tlaloc." She seized Cipitio with angry hands. As her mother-in-law violently pointed her finger at her, Seiway's chest tightened. She wanted to protest, to explain it had been only a breath, only a heartbeat, that she had turned away. But her words withered in her throat. In that moment, Seiway finally understood. No tenderness she gave, no care she offered, would ever be enough. She would never be enough.
Eventually, Sihue was brought before the rain god himself. Deep in the jungle, under a sudden storm, Tlaloc appeared. The earth trembled at his voice.
Seiway bowed respectfully. "My wife wants punishment," he said, "for neglecting your son, our grandson." Sihue, weary but unafraid, lifted herself. "I do not neglect him, but I cannot perform every duty alone." "But you married a warrior." "I had no choice." Tlaloc paused, and then, unlike any man or god before him, he asked her, "What do you want, Sihue?" Sihue trembled and nervously took a deep breath. Then, for the first time, truth. A world without men. Tlaloc let out a booming laugh. "You need men. Who would protect you? Who would fight for you?" Seiway explained, "I wouldn't need protection because there would be no war." The god's smile faded. Even I cannot shape such a world. Then take away my beauty, she exclaimed. It is a curse. Please, set me free. So be it. Tlaloc raised his hand, and the skies darkened. From that day forward, the villagers spoke of strange happenings along the Limpa River. A woman, impossibly beautiful, would appear bathing by moonlight. Long black hair, caramel skin, a smile to ensnare the soul. She could only be seen by lecherous men whose hearts pounded with lust. But if they came too close, if they dared approach, she would turn, and what they saw would drain the blood from their faces. Dream became nightmare. Beauty became beast. No eyes, only cavernous hollows. A mouth stretched impossibly wide, splitting her skeletal face into a grotesque, eternal scream. Her visage was carved from bone and pure, rotting horror. To look upon her was to damn one's own soul. Wicked men either dropped dead from terror or stumbled into incurable insanity, their minds shattered beyond repair. They only say her name now in whispers. La Siguanaba. Not wife, not mother, not bound.
Time flowed on, and with it, the truth unraveled. Men retold her story, reshaping it to fit their fears and their pride. They called her vain, accused her of seduction and treachery, painting her as a power-hungry temptress. The woman that she truly was, witty, burdened, yearning for freedom, was forgotten. The truth was buried beneath their fables, lost to the echo of their voices. But the river remembers. The river always remembers. If you grew up with these fables, what version were you told? And what do you think was left out? Let me know in the comments. While you're at it, since you've made it this far in the video, please click the like button. It helps more than you know.
Gracias.
After Seiway vanished into legend, her son, Cipitio, was left behind. Motherless, fatherless, adrift in a world that had no place for him.
His father, Yesun, had gone to war, unaware of the turmoil that had unraveled in his absence. And so, it was Tlaloc, the ancient god of rain and storms, who descended once more, this time not with thunder, but with quiet resolve. His wife, Cipitio's grandmother, convinced him the boy should be raised in Xibalba, the underworld, where he would witness tests, trials, and tribulations that would make him as strong and brave as his father. Tlaloc took his grandson in his arms and carried him deep below to the realm of shadows, echoes, and forgotten souls. There he witnessed incredible feats of strength as men were pushed to their limits. Cipitio's grandmother, ever watchful and sharp-tongued, joined them. She remained devoted in her own way, insisting on order, scolding, and endlessly trying to break her grandson of his strange and stubborn habit, eating ashes, But her warnings went unheeded. The boy continued to sit among the fire pits, his hands dusty, his cheeks smeared with soot, giggling to himself.
Years passed above, swift and unforgiving. Ye soon returned home from war, older and battle-worn, ready to embrace the family he left behind. But there was no homecoming.
Yesun stood before his father and asked, "Where are they?" Tlaloc answered with the weight of 1,000 storms. "Your wife, Sihue, is gone. She is cursed, but free. And my son? He lives," Tlaloc replied. "He is being raised in Xibalba." Yesun dropped to his knees. The warrior who had faced death on the battlefield could not fight the sorrow now crushing him. Still, he refused to surrender hope. He turned toward the Limpa River, searching for the woman he once called wife, knowing that when he found her, they would reclaim their son together.
Some say you can still hear him calling for her when near the Limpa. He never found her. He never could. La Siguanaba only appears to wicked men.
Time pressed forward, but Cipitio did not. He neither grew taller nor older. Instead, he grew outward, his fondness for devouring ash in the underworld binding him to a grotesque immortality of boyhood. Forever a plump child beneath his straw hat, he lingered in a state untouched by years. Empires rose and perished. Languages were born and forgotten. But Cipitio remained. Always wide-eyed, always mischievous, always alone. Xibalba, with its shadows and whispers, is no place for children. At last, Tlaloc allowed the boy to return to the surface. But it was no longer his world.
Despite being centuries old, Cipitio is still just a boy, curious and gentle in heart. He roams the riverbanks now, his giggle light as wind over water.
If you're a girl alone by the river and you suddenly hear laughter, do not be afraid. It is only Cipitio. He doesn't know how to talk to girls. He never learned. But his giggle implies he thinks you're beautiful. He means no harm. Sometimes he plays tricks, harmless little pranks. A flower in your hair, a stone in your shoe, your laundry blown downriver. But from time to time, Cipitio played his games on the wrong person, provoking furious chases that sent him scrambling for safety. Yet, with his round, pudgy frame, he could never outrun his pursuers for long. Growing weary of rescuing his mischievous grandson, the rain god Tlaloc devised a solution. He turned Cipitio's feet backward. From that day forward, anyone following his tracks would be led astray, chasing endlessly, in the wrong direction.
If you want to meet Cipitio, leave some ashes near the Limpa. He still loves them, so he'll come. If you think I didn't bring ashes with me for that very purpose, then you don't know me very well.
Gracias.
I can wait. I've got nothing but time.
Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I will see you in the next one.
향기에